Hi to everyone. My name is Cedric, and I'm so excited to talk to you today about IT. And IT is one of my beautiful topic. And today I'll be talking to you about the motherboard. I have been talking earlier about the RAM and the processor, and when I'll be done talking to you today about the motherboard, you will see how all these three beautiful components come together and make up what we generally call today phone, computers, and or what you can describe as an electronic device. And again, my name is Cedric, and it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to come on the mic through this camera and to talk to you about this great, beautiful tool that we call computers and most known component, which is the motherboard. And the motherboard is one of the most fascinating, like really fascinating piece of a computer or an IT in general that help make what we call today phones, computers, and IT in general. It's just beautiful and fascinating. And before I even dive into this, I will always do what most of us Christians do: prayer. And folks, prayer, especially for us Christian, is really crucial at this moment. Life is not easy. Things are really hard, and everything, like almost every subject that you discuss today, is just about evil things happening around the world. So the times are really, really, really not good at all. And prayer is one of the most important thing that we as Christians need to do. So before any further ado, Father, thank you. Thank you, King Jesus. Thank you, King of Kings. Thank you, the one that give knowledge, that give understanding about everything. I come before you tonight just to dig more from you, to come and to know you, to experience you, King of Kings, as I am patiently coming before this camera and using this mic tonight to communicate things that are hidden before your throne, Father. Help us to reveal it. Help us to unveil it. Help us not only to reveal and unveil it, but to understand it the way you want us to understand the fullness of it, because you are the fullness of everything. Father, as I am working to bring forth this knowledge, this understanding that I have about motherboard, Father, let me speak it from your throne. Let me speak it from your knowledge, from your understanding, because you alone have the ability and the capacity of letting anyone understand things according to the way you want them to understand. Glory be to your name, because Father, you are in this, and that your name will forever be glorified. I worship you, I adore you, and let everyone that come across this video, let a word, a piece, a segment, a little part of it, Father, speak to each one according to what you have designed them to fall across. Father, thank you because you're so faithful. Thank you because you're good, because you do one thing but answer prayer. And that is why I pray continuously, perpetually. And Father, cover this moment, cover this time. Walk over my camera and everything, the mic and the recording, the video. Father, let everything go through for your glory, because only you are Lord, only you are God. Glory be to you in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, Father, I pray. Amen. Yes, guys, and today, as I was saying earlier, is motherboard. And the motherboard is one of the most greatest piece. And before I even dive into that, please, can you subscribe, share? Not only share, commenting is one of the most critical part. That is where I have some input from you to see what I'm doing right and what I'm not, to discuss with you and to see what you want to see more on the screen, and topic or things that you want me to explain. Because here's what I will be basically explaining, is that I will take the concept, the general technological concept and the big grammar of everything, and break it down to the common language. Because I have a very, I don't know if it is unique to me, but I have a very strange way of learning, is that I don't learn by repeating. I don't learn by doing 1 + 1 is 2. If you say 1 + 1 is 2, I will try to merge it into something that makes sense to me, because 1 + 1 is just a formula that is repeating every time, and everyone that just know how to do 1+1 will say that they basically know what one. Meanwhile, technically 1+1 can be whatever you want it to be, and the result will always end up to be 2, but it can literally be whatever you mean. And if you understand it like the way I do, you don't even need to repeat 1+1. You just know the outcome of it. You just know what you are looking out of, what you are actually adding to another substance. So that is how I learn, and that is basically what I'll be doing here, especially when it comes to this particular electronic component, which is the motherboard. I will break it down to the most common understanding, like what I did with the RAM and the processor. And what I basically did with the RAM and the processor was that I told you that the processor is the brain, literally is the core, is where everything is built to run everything. He's the one that process all intaking in your computer. And the RAM, as I've said earlier, is the port. Is where everything goes in, and the RAM is just stand for random accessing memory. The processor is the CPU, which is also called the central processor unit. So these are technical things, and I don't want to go into those technical stuff, because most of the time when we say it, people start and they're trying to retain those parts. No, what I want you to understand is that a processor is the heart, is like your heart beating, is where everything is stored. Now the RAM is like your body that store food. That is exactly the similitude of what those two does. You have your heart that is inside, and your whole body that store food, and that store your blood, your flesh, and your bone, and all the other particles of your system. That is how the RAM function. And the RAM, you have to understand that when it comes to the context of computer, the RAM is this what I call live memory. So normally what does that mean in the technical term of it is a temporary storage. It's just where information goes there temporarily and allow the system to run it whenever is needed. So if anything happened during the treatment of that particular information, or what I've been experiencing a couple of times with my camera, is that the camera will sometimes shut down and would cut off the recording at a certain level, but somehow I would not be able to recover what it has recorded earlier. So it has just been a way experience, and I'm trying to have that resolved. And that is technically one of the example that can happen when you are running a process on your system and it's stored temporarily in the processor. Anything happen, you can literally lose that information, because that information is not stored permanently. And now when we talk about the motherboard, actually that name mother is two words that comes together. Mother, which is what we know in a family settings, a mother is like where everything goes. You know, when you want something in the house, your mom is the way to go. You want food, you want dressing, you want to ask for permission, you want to go out. Even when it comes to husband, generally is the wife that, you know, is in charge of running, of allowing things to run in the house. That is how you should see it. And basically for those who are in a family setting, except for some of us, that is how it works. It's from the mom that most of the instruction comes from. And that is the idea about the motherboard. And that first word is mother. Then the second one is board. A board is just a display. It's somewhere that you place thing on it and design it. And if I would take the most common definition, and something I like to always take basic, it's like a classroom. In a classroom, you have what I call a board, and generally we know the white, the green, the black, and many other type of color that are out there. That is just used for what? For laboring, placing, organizing, you know, explaining things the way it should be going in class. If it is 1+1, you see you're writing and everybody is able to follow the process on the board. And that is exactly what it does with the motherboard. The mother is where everything is, and now you take that mother and place it on a board, and that is where now all the stuff that are on that motherboard, that now all the other component of the computer now goes there to grab information. I hope that analogy will speak more to you and will actually help you understand what a motherboard is. It's basically where all the other pieces of the computer comes to dig and grab information. So this is exactly what really makes it exceptional and different from any other form of technology out there, which is not basically in the electronic device or in the IT environment. Because when we say IT is not just about computers, phone, and electronic device. IT is generally everything that is using electricity. That is what IT basically is. I know most people reduce it to computer. It's not just computer, it's printer. I mean, printer is commonly known. It's refrigerators, is microwave, is vacuum cleaner. For most people, it goes right down to the education and to the health department. So it's just vast. Now there are other technology that have nothing to do with electronics. For instance, I know part of IT plays a big role when it comes to farming, but farming, generally planting and reaping crops, there are techniques, and that is generally what the more technology comes from. The word technique is technique that use knowledge to process, and also those word technology is just two words that they have brought together. Tech, no, which come from the word knowledge. Tech, which is the word technique. Those are just stuff that have been separated, and that is exactly what most people, even in the plantation setting, in the farming setting, they have technique which use knowledge, which use a repeating process to actually make it happen. And that is not necessarily IT, which is bunch of information that is processed automatically, but it's just a technique that is used, but which does not really recount in the IT environment. Is quite different from the IT environment. And let me not digress that much, but let's come back to the motherboard. And the motherboard that I was trying to talk about earlier is just this board that have all the other necessary tools that the rest of what we call computer need to function. So the processor that will run everything takes its source, the energy, the electricity that he needs to function. He takes it from the motherboard. Now, what is the electricity that run upon the motherboard? The electricity that is just running upon the motherboard are bunch of convert electron that run in the system, that the processor takes it, convert it into what you're doing on your phone. Maybe you're calling, maybe you're doing video calling, maybe you're texting, or maybe you're intaking voice recording or video intaking, as I'm doing right now. And this tool only helps you now process the whole information, the whole fluctuation of electron that is flowing on your computer. And computer have a language. Generally, those language are what we call the binary language. Is the binary, that would come from the word two. So it's just the word two. Binary means two values that the computer understand. What does that two figures or numbers mean? It just means that there is this 0 and 1. And 0 and 1, when we are talking about electricity, for those who little bit understand a little bit, we know that in electricity we have the plus and the minus. No, generally is the minus and the plus. And the minus stand for the 0 and the plus stand for the 1. So those are the two electronic impulses that are taken in a computer, and now during the processing system of all the electronic on the motherboard, that now translate it to what you are using on your phone. That is basically what is happening. And the engineer and the designer, they actually did a great job by actually bringing all that to a reality, which is just fascinating. Because in the beginning, in 1945, when the first computer was built by IBM, that was a huge accomplishment, and the whole thing was just like a big massive house, and that particular computer was called a calculator, and all what he was meant to do was to calculate numbers. Now today we have computers that they are designed to build infrastructure, to design buildings, and and even go even deeper into agriculture. Today, with technology that comes from IT environment, it's just like fascinating to see what it can do, and it's still vast, and that field is still way open. So that is just the beauty of this thing we call technology, that is just mind-blowing by knowing how this little piece of what we call motherboard was thoroughly designed and set in order to produce all these beautiful things that IT in general today bring forth. And one thing that I really want to really emphasize is on the fact that it's called a motherboard, and that term comes from the fact that all the other components, not only the processor and the RAM, we have things like camera intaking, voice intaking, and also speaker output. Those are speaker output that also does the same thing. And for most people have like printer, which are basically for computers, that does things now by internet and through networking, that you can literally network your stuff and even do printing even from far apart from your local network local area network, which is just stand for LAN. So these are just things that the motherboard allow your whole system to go through, and all these things I'm saying is just connected on your system, on your motherboard, and the processor is the one that actually allowed this whole processing system that does this wonderful and beautiful job. I hope what I have just shared now to actually help you have an idea of what it means to have a phone, a tablet, a laptop, a desktop, or what actually goes behind the scene or in the device that you carry. Because a lot actually going on in there, and that is basically what is happening in there. And that is my basic way of actually introducing this, and I have said it earlier in the introduction of this video, that I am just taking it and breaking it down and speaking your language. And that's exactly the way I learn. I don't learn by being like a good student by repeating everything they tell me in class in order to have the highest mark. Sometimes I would do what I'm doing and I will have the lowest mark, but my biggest point is not to have the highest or to be the best in class, but to understand what is being taught. Sometimes it might not really sound beneficial because most people would like to have all the degrees. Sometimes I prefer to have the knowledge than the degree, because sometimes the degree without the knowledge is just, I would call it sometimes fake. You're just living a life that is not fulfilled. But somehow, yes, most people would kind of like proud of the certificate and be happy of all what comes out of it. But for me personally, it's about having the knowledge, understanding what I'm doing. And that is just the way I do to break it down. And sometimes it's not really fun, especially when you don't succeed to crack it. You don't understand what it means by motherboard. You don't understand what it means by RAM. When they talk about electron, when they talk about electricity, they talk about something like, taking data from the BIOS and configuring in, trading in, and bringing it out on what you see on your display. So those type of things, I always crack it down, break it down, and get rid of all the technical word and use the most basic understanding of things. And I always come out with this flat, simple, day-to-day communication that you have in your house with your spouse, with your friend, with your family, children, and sisters, and this kind of common discussion that we have at home. And you will realize that most of the time when you're home with your spouse, you're home with your children and your sisters and brother, the communication, the conversation that you have in that particular setting is quite different, like what you're having in class with your teacher, or what you're having at your job site with your boss, or something like that, different, or a guest, or someone that just come in your house. Those conversations are different because you try to behave, you try to bring up the right English speaking type of a way that you don't want to, sound or look weird, or maybe make them feel like, something is not right with you. But technically, I just like to get rid of that. I just like to be myself and speak what I think need to be understood. And if in any case I'm misinterpreted, or they don't get what I'm saying, it's still good. But at least I know that I've done something, being who I am, knowing well that if that particular person meet me in another setting, he would definitely know that this is the person I met yesterday, than trying to be, Mr. Perfect and with all the other great things that come along with it, just to find out that when he would definitely surprise you in a setting that you were not expecting him, then thing would not really look good. And that is why I just try to be as me as much as I can in every setting, in every situation. I mean, sitting right here talking to you on this mic. Sometimes when I look at what I'm doing on the mic and through the camera, I will like, I don't even think that is me, because I don't sometimes think I sound like that or I say things like that. But I try to be as casual, as professional, as clear as possible. Those are the three most important things that I want to be: casual, respectful, understood, and be as clear as possible. The rest, it just comes out the way it comes, and it's just also the process of learning. I hope what I have been sharing here now have actually helped you understand one or two things. And I definitely know that I have not really spoken much about the motherboard, which I think I will be running more further on it, because next time I'll be talking about the different component that comes in on the motherboard in order to actually make it what you have in your hand, which is the phone. And before I even try to close this part of the segment, I would like to actually describe that word motherboard. I have actually started doing that earlier. So what I was trying to do now is to give you the acronym, the technical word that IT professional used to label it. The professional word that they use is that they will use the MO from mother and the BO from board to call it mobile. So generally you will see some term out there, mobile, and that is what they always use to label the mark or the serial number of every serial number of your motherboard. And I also want to mention this. One key thing that you have to always check on every electronic device, and don't get me wrong, I do definitely understand that most of this company out here today, they always make sure that they have the top of everything that you're buying, especially when you're buying an iPhone like $1,700, or you're buying it for $1,000. No, they always make sure that they design it the way it should be and run everything properly. But I do also understand that there are some companies out there that are just trying to make money and just trying to get the low cost possible to attract more people to buy. So they would design a very beautiful high level processing system with RAM and all the other jazzy stuff that goes around it, but with a very weak motherboard. And you have to keep that in mind. So when you're looking to buy, you have to check that out, because the frequency that is on your motherboard is supposed to match the frequency of the RAM that is designed to run on it. If not, you will have a very good spec of your device that have all the high quality of the RAM processor storage, which generally is the memory, the dirt memory of your system. They are all great, but somehow your system still run low, or it doesn't fit everything that you are trying to do on it, because every time when you're trying to actually use it according to the capacity of the RAM and the processor, somehow the thing will run slow. It's because the frequency that is labeled on your motherboard is not the same with your RAM, and somehow is not fully using the full capacity of your processor and your RAM, vice versa. So check out on that each time when you're looking to buy a device, and even ask the vendor what serial number, what year, what making model, what speed, frequency does my motherboard carry, and understand that motherboard is about all electronic device. I mean all or anything, printers, microwaves, fridge. They always have a central piece where everything plugs on that particular central piece to run the rest. And on this particular central piece, there is always a processor, there is always a RAM. And that RAM may not be high, may not be, it depends the use, but for phone and computers, it's always a little bit higher because we run a lot of process system on it. And most of the time, people will run programs on their phone or on their laptop that they will not even mind to close it or to, shut it down for a moment. They will just keep running it for months. So if you don't have a high memory RAM or a high memory process, you will always have crash all the time because those things will be overwhelmed, will be overloaded, and the system will not be able to process the rest of the information. And it will does one thing is that it will shut down. And if it doesn't shut down and it keep functioning, you will have a slow functioning system, or most of the time, most of the app on your phone will be freezing. So if I'm saying all this thing and you can actually pick that happen with your phone, with your computer, that's basically the reason. The RAM and the processor, these are the two functional part of your system that keep everything running. And if you are experiencing any slow or whatever, just go ahead and terminate every running process that is on your phone. That will actually help speed up a little bit your device. And in case that doesn't really happen, shut it down for 15 seconds. That is the basic number of time that you need to reset your RAM. That is at the RAM level. But to actually reset your processor is 45 minutes, close to an hour. You actually shut it down and allow your device to rest for 45 minutes. It takes time now to flush completely your processor in order to let it restart afresh with new boot up system that will refresh. That is not resetting your phone, it's just resetting that particular part. And I hope this will actually help you go ahead and make sure you check that serial number or the mark of your motherboard, because that will be a huge game changer. And only that you will sound cool, and most people out there in those stores would know that you know what you're talking about. So I hope talking about this have actually helped you, and I have actually shown you to better handle your device, because that is what I do. I just try to speak in this thing in a very different angle, using a very different approach, something that is not of the common, and just put out my content. And I have started saying this in the beginning. I think I didn't went through my idea when I was talking about subscribing. Please, guys, that is one thing that helped me understand that at least I'm doing something. And also comment. That is one of the biggest part. Commenting, hearing from you, trying to know if what I'm doing, I'm on the right path, or I need to do some adjustment, or also interact and communicate with you in that particular sector of commenting. You can reach me if you think it's something that you can help, do out with me, or learn something from me, or try to, know one or two things. I have my phone number rolling somewhere down there, and my email too. You can just email me, and I will definitely diligently sit down, read your email, and respond to you accordingly. And also my phone number is right there, and you can call me from 1 right down to 5 o'clock. That is the Eastern time here in America, and all over the world I don't pretty much know, but I would definitely be looking into those time frame in order to give you the right time frame. But I definitely know that if you check on your phone, that whatever you're using, you will know that here in Maryland, where I'm based in America, you check the time frame that I'm in, and you will definitely see that I'm available from 1 right down to 5 o'clock, and you can call me at that time, and I will pick up your call, and I'll be glad to share with you, to talk with you, and to see if I can help you understand one or two things when it comes to IT in general. And my pleasure is to actually help you do whatever you are looking into. And the two last part is to share and like. That is one beautiful thing. So the first thing is subscribe, the second thing is comment, the third thing is share, because when you have something that you think is beneficial and you want two people benefit from it, just go ahead, share it on your page, Facebook page, Instagram, and all the other platforms. Someone may also benefit from it, and basically, you don't really lose anything by just doing that. And also if you really appreciate and like what is coming out from the content, and from subscribing, please check the bell button in order to be able to receive the full content of what I'm really doing. So thank you for taking your time listening to me and following up on what I'm doing. It's my pleasure to put out this video and to totally use a different perspective to introduce all these things, and I really wish you will take out something out of it. And my pleasure is my desire, that is what I meant to say, is just to see you thrive, have fun, and just have fun listening. Sometimes I just do this for fun too, just to see how it looks like to develop things and to just start speaking about stuff. And I think my next video, as I've been saying earlier, is about the different component that comes to build up the whole computer together, what comes on the motherboard. I know I've already mentioned two major components that are on the motherboard, which is the RAM and the processor, but there are other components that comes together in order to make everything comes alive. And my prayer is to see you on the next video too. And before I close this video, Father, thank you for downloading, thank you for helping, thank you for being here, thank you, Holy Spirit, for giving me the energy and the power, the ability to communicate what comes from your throne. And Father, whosoever come across this video, bless that person, let that person take a piece of it. They might not take the whole thing, but that let one thing hit their heart and let them receive something that you alone are able to give. Father, thank you, because I know you are so faithful, and you do one thing: you answer prayer. You do nothing else but answer just prayer. Thank you, because right now you are answering my prayer, and that someone is specially touched about what I'm doing here right now, because it's from your throne that I'm doing it. Thank you, King of Kings. Thank you, the Monarch of Zion. Thank you, the Rock of Ages, because you are so faithful. You are good, a good God. Jehovah Jireh, Jehovah Rophe, the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the King that dwell in the midst of the coals of the fire, that dwell in the midst of the cherubim. Glory be to your name, glory be to your name, in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, Father, I pray. Amen. Thank you, and see you next time. Remember, the first thing is subscribe. Check that notification bell. The second thing, comment. The third thing, like. And the fourth thing, please don't be greedy, share it. Love you guys, and see you on the next video. And my name again is Cedric. Ciao.